Bay Street corridor, which we just discussed, and other areas we're going to discuss. So that is to say the range, there's less deviation of the range. The range is a more compact range from the lowest sold to the highest sold. In today's video, yet another edition of the weekly condo market update where I go through the latest trends, numbers, and facts you should know. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, you can find my contact information in the description box with regards to my Gmail, my Instagram, and my office. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions you may have about anything covered in this video, any other video, or if you have any general inquiries with regards to the Toronto real estate and GTA real estate market. Lastly, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Your support in terms of a subscription and a like on this video is much appreciated, but as I always mention, you're not obliged to do so whatsoever, so don't feel obliged. Anyways, let's get to the point of today's video, which is yet another weekly condo market update. In today's condo weekly market update, I'm going to go through specific neighborhoods and communities in downtown Toronto and break these communities and specific neighborhoods down by average price and median price. Just to keep in mind, these prices will be from June 1st to July 14th, the date of recording of this video. Thereafter, at the end of this video, I'm going to cover the Toronto rental market. As always, you can skip through this video. The chapters will be in the description. One last time before we get into the numbers, please feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Your support in that regard is much appreciated, but you're not obliged to do so whatsoever. And feel free to get in touch with me with my contact info in the description. Let's get to the numbers. Starting out with the first specific neighborhood / community, Bay Street corridor. As you can see, we saw an average selling price of $781, an average asking price of $786, and a median sold price of $675, all based upon 85 transactions. Now, as you can see on the map, Bay Street corridor, along with its adjacent neighborhood, Yonge-Church corridor, which we will get to later on in this video, is a very narrow yet long community. In this way, since it stretches such a long span, really it's vertical more than horizontal, which all the other specific neighborhoods and communities, once again with the exception of Yonge-Church, are more box-like. This is much more vertical. It accounts for a lot of different areas, all the way from Bloor Wellesley to Wellington, down further south, closer to the water, right? So when we just look at it based on this district, based on the boundary lines, when we break down Bay Street corridor, you're gonna get numbers that don't really sometimes add up, because once again, it accounts for all the way from Bloor to all the way to Wellington, and the markets around Wellington are different. Of course, is at the end of the day all downtown Toronto, so there's a certain sense of uniformity in terms of the trends. But when we're looking at the minutia and the detailed differences, a 1+1 at Wellington is going to sell differently than a 1+1 at Bloor. Moving on, Kensington / Chinatown, with the average sold price of $731, the average asking price of $714, and the median sold price of $682. So when we just compare it to the previous community, we see that the average in this instance is lower, but the median sold price is higher. Now, keep in mind, this is based on less transactions. This is based on 22 transactions, which is on the lower end of this list we're going to go through, but it's not the lowest. However, point here is, since most often than not, median is a fairer metric to estimate the value of an area as opposed to average, the range of condominium options inventory that actually ended up selling from the lowest to the highest here is much more closer. Bay Street corridor, which we just discussed, and other areas we're going to discuss. So that is to say the range, there's less deviation of the range. The range is a more compact range from the lowest sold to the highest sold. Next up, Little Portugal, one of my favorites, and I mean that sarcastically. In terms of the average selling price, we saw an average selling price of $668, the average asking price of $639, and median sold price of $562,000. Now, why do I say this is one of my favorites, sarcastically? Because I've been on record saying how I think Little Portugal, although it's a great area for freehold properties, the condominium options available in terms of inventory in this area are some of the worst in Toronto, really, in GTA, really. Now, I actually want to make a series, start a new series. Tell me if you think this is a good idea, of the worst and best condominium buildings. So looking at the buildings exclusively by address. Start with the worst. 36 Lisgar is going to be one of the #1 options, and that is a condominium that is contained in Little Portugal. That's where you can find the cheapest 1-bedroom units, 1+1 units, 2-bedroom units. Think of any layout, you're going to find the cheapest options per square foot there, because you know, the story is out. If a realtor knows what they're doing, they're going to tell you to deviate away from this building. And the median of 562, once again, median is typically a better metric, not on all occasions, but in most occasions a better metric. And the median of 562 is going to be the lowest median we're going to be seeing in this list. Next up, we have Niagara region, which once again, in terms of what I think of it, is not one of the best, but it's definitely not as bad as Little Portugal in terms of the inventory available. However, as you can see, the average selling price of 720, the median sold price of 680, all based on 117 transactions. Now, this area, once again, I am on record saying that you do have some really good options here. And I've noticed the investor base that used to mostly invest in Bay Street Corridor, Waterfront C1, make a little bit of a shift both east and west to Niagara, east to C8 locations such as Moss Park or Waterfront C8. And obviously, once again, this is Niagara. And in the past year and a half, I have seen an influx of first-time home buyer investors purchase units here. Moving on to the biggest area, the most condo dense area, and where you can find the most inventory is Waterfront C1. This is to be distinguished between Waterfront C8, which is once again the waterfront area, but technically in the municipality of C8, which is first east downtown Toronto, east southern downtown Toronto. Here you get the average sold price of $753,000, the median sold price of $735,000, and the average asking price of $736,000. This is based on 336 transactions. And here the average can be a little misleading because you have some of the most expensive units in downtown Toronto, units that sell for $8 million, $7 million in this area. Now, none sold for that high of a price point in this time span we're looking at. That's why the median here is much more fairer and accurate representation of the facts. Next up, we have Trinity Bellwoods with the average selling price of $914,000 and the median sold price of $949,000. Now, what surprised me in a slower market, the number of transactions here is 16 transactions, which is higher than I expected for Trinity Bellwoods. Trinity Bellwoods doesn't have that much inventory, especially when we compare it to, once again, Church Yonge, Bay Street Corridor, C1 Waterfront, C8 Waterfront. So 16 transactions here is actually a healthy amount of transactions for this area. Actually, on the flip side of things, we're going to move on to Waterfront C8, where we see the average sold price of $772 and the median sold price of $735. This is based on 75 transactions, which is a bit lower than any other season. Obviously, a lot of this has to do with the fact that we're working with a summer market. Summer markets are seasonally lower than other markets. However, as I've previously stated, I think C8 is one of the best investment opportunities, along with Richmond Hill and Mississauga if we're looking at GTA-Y. But C8 is slowly becoming more and more developed. All the big time builders are flocking towards the C8 area because right now that's where, especially around Dundas, Queen King, further east, that's where a lot of development opportunities still exist. And builders are paying upwards of $70 million to $90 million for lots in downtown Toronto in terms of C8 waterfront. Second to last, we're going to take a look at University, where we have the average sold price of $831,000 and the median of $683,000. Now, this is only based on 9 transactions, which is once again on the lower end, the second lowest on this list. And actually 4 of these transactions occurred in one building. This University area is not really a condo rich area in terms of inventory. You have 1 to 3 buildings that really dominate the market in this area in terms of condominiums. We're gonna end with Church Yonge Corridor, which is actually based on 140 transactions, once again from June 1st to July 14th. Wherein the average selling price is $728,000 and the median sold price is $655,000. All right, now let's end things with the Toronto rental market with regards to condominiums and apartments specifically. Now, a point of distinction here, apartments can refer to both condominiums in the colloquial sense of the term, and literally what they actually refer to is purpose-built rentals. But a lot of people, when they say apartments, they typically also do mean condominium rentals. They're two different things. Condominium rentals, you're renting from another individual who's a homeowner, or maybe it's a company that owns multiple properties, but what you're renting is a built to own unit in a condominium project, whereas apartments you're renting from larger corporations, and what the actual unit you're occupying and renting is a purpose-built rental. So two different things here. So for the first time in years, Toronto fell out of the top two most expensive areas for median 1-bedroom or median 2-bedroom average rent. Now it ranks 4th behind Vancouver, Burnaby, and believe it or not, Barrie. For point of reference, the median price for an apartment in the city of Toronto, so this includes both condominiums and purpose-built rentals, is $1,710. For 2 bedrooms, it's $2,200. These figures represent both a 5% drop month over month and a 18% drop year over year. Now, in my recent videos, I have been discussing the recovering rental market. I have been saying that it is slowly inching back upwards, and that still holds true because you have to understand these figures are with regards to Toronto. The recovering rental market refers to Toronto as well, but also the GTA. And another key point here is that these numbers are exclusively for 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, condominium, and purpose-built rentals. When we look at the rental market at large, we are looking at freehold properties as well as other condominium types such as bachelors, from the smallest to larger 3-bedroom units. All the freehold property types and all the other condominium property types are accounted for. Furthermore, I would venture to guess by all indications in the purchase and sale market, where condominiums are holding up strong and very steady, both in terms of a month over month and year over year analysis in the city of Toronto at large. But they are truly down, as I discussed previously, 40 to 50K, depending on which part of downtown you're looking at. But when we look at Toronto at large, which the downtown numbers are accounted for therein, the larger Toronto figures, everything is pretty steady and even. I would venture to guess that the same applies to the rental market as well, wherein other areas outside of downtown Toronto are holding somewhat steady, but nonetheless, month over month, they are most likely up. And the downtown numbers are truly dragging down the averages, both in terms of rental and, as I previously discussed in previous video, purchase and sale. But I don't see rents being down for a long time. Once again, much like the purchase and sale market for condominiums, I do believe that things will improve towards the fall market. Anyways, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty. As always, thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Your support in that regard is much appreciated. You can find my contact information in the description box with regards to my Gmail, my Instagram, and my office. Thank you very much.